I love dangling modifier problems, and hopefully after this video you will too. Um, and hopefully you'll agree with this famous quote, dangling modifiers are fun, which is attributed to me. Okay, first off, what is a dangling modifier problem and why should we care about this at all? So thing one is dangling modifier problems are grammar problems on the SAT. So they will be in the grammar section, meaning between like questions like 15 to 21 roughly in the reading and writing module. And they're often like the hardest grammar problems for a lot of people. Even like pretty strong SAT takers I see struggle with these types of problems. So that's why I'm doing a dedicated video on them. And I also wrote a dedicated article about them. Thing two, how do you know you're dealing with a dangling modifier problem? You've got long answer choices that are different from each other. So unlike there's some grammar problems where you have long answer choices, but the only differentiating factor is like where a period is or a comma, and like the words are all the same. But in dangling modifier problems, they're grammar problems, meaning you're going to be asked which choice completes the text so that it conforms to standard English. But each answer choice is going to be very unique from the other answer choices. And you could see that here. Like there's a lot of different words used in each of these answer choices. So that's basically it. And I'm going to show you how to do them with like two quick examples. And then we'll practice a couple and you'll see how easy these can be. And I started with like a particularly hard example. I don't know why I did that, but we'll see how it goes. Compared to that of alumina glass. Okay, this is the important phrase. The thing that comes right after this has to be the thing that is compared to that of alumina glass. Now, notice we're not comparing something to alumina glass. We're comparing it to that of alumina glass. I don't know what that is referring to, but it's some property of alumina glass. Maybe like you could imagine it could be like the hardness of alumina glass. Maybe we're talking about how hard or soft alumina glass is. And so compared to that factor or that property of alumina glass, what are we comparing to it? We have to be comparing some property of some other thing because it has to be parallel. Compared to that of alumina glass, silica glass is at a significant disadvantage. So A is tempting, but the reason A doesn't make sense, silica glass, we're not going to compare directly to a property of alumina glass. There's always this parallelism. So we're not going to compare an entire type of glass to just like a single property of another glass. Just like you wouldn't say like my my brother's height compared to me, that wouldn't really make sense. You would say my brother's height compared to my height. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So silica glass is not going to be what we're starting with. So that eliminates just that eliminates A and B. And then if we look at C, compared to that of alumina glass, a significant disadvantage of silica glass, I would imagine a lot of people would choose C. I think C is like one of those answers that you choose before you learn how dangling modifiers work. Um, this makes absolutely no sense. Like we always need to have a noun coming right after the dangling modifier or the after this like prepositional phrase. Um, answer should lead with a noun. So we're going to see the right answer is D. Compared to that of alumina glass, some property of alumina glass, silica glass's atomic arrangement. That's the subject. That's the main thing that we're comparing to that of alumina glass. It turns out we're comparing silica glass's atomic arrangement to alumina glass's atomic arrangement. So this gives us that parallelism that we're talking about. And you don't have to read the rest of the answer choice. All that matters is the first few words. I should write that. That's important. Only first few words of choice matter. And I'm going to show you something that might help with some of these. Whenever you figure out like what the subject is of the correct answer choice, so here it's this silica glass's atomic arrangement before we get to the verb, which is. before we get there, we're just talking about this is the main subject of the sentence. Silica glass's atomic arrangement. You have to be able to supplant that. I don't know if that's the right word. You have to be able to grab that and stick it in the front of the sentence. So you have to be able to read this sentence as silica glass's atomic arrangement, comma, compared to that of alumina glass, comma, is more dispersed, yada, yada, yada. And if you're able to do that successfully, then you have the right answer. Okay, let's look at one more answer. Sorry. Oh, I actually didn't prepare another example. So here's what we'll do. Let's go here. I have this website where I basically like assign myself a few practice problems that have dangling modifiers to show you how we could practice some of these. One of the few African American global explorers during the turn of the 20th century. Okay, so we need the next thing has to be describing like who is this uh, one of the few African American global explorers? Like who are we describing right now? And the only one that starts with a name is A. Matthew Henson. That's the subject. Matthew Henson, comma, one of the few African American global explorers, blah, 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 comma, made several treks across Greenland. That makes perfect sense. So when the way this works is we're starting with a phrase about the subject before saying who the subject is or what the subject is. Then we have a comma, and then we immediately have to say who or what that subject is. And choice A is the only one that does that. And you'll see, like, as you start to do more of these, it'll become supernatural. Far from being modern inventions, okay, we have to describe what are these inventions that I guess are not modern. Far from being modern inventions. Sumerians, those are a type of people, so those wouldn't be described as far from being modern inventions. Drinking straws, that could definitely be right. Drinking straws could be described as not a modern invention, especially because they explained that they were used a really long time ago. The use of drinking straws, this is a classic wrong answer because this is not describing exactly what the invention could or couldn't be. This is a behavior. This is not what you would you can't say the use of drinking straws, comma, far from being modern inventions, like that wouldn't make any sense. So it's definitely going to be choice B. And ancient Mesopotamia also makes no sense because ancient Mesopotamia, you would never describe that as far from being modern inventions. That doesn't make any sense. It's also the wrong. It's not plural. Um, Drinking straws is plural. Modern inventions is plural. So we also have that to match up. Okay, supported by biochemical analysis of over 2,000 skeletons. So we need something that can be supported by analysis. What is a thing that can be supported by analysis? Vegetables and grains? No, those are not going to be supported by analysis. Those are just things. Early medieval rulers are not supported by analysis. The primary components of their diets? No. Findings? Yeah, findings can be supported by biochemical analysis. So D makes perfect sense. And the last one I have here is we don't have to read the first sentence. For grammar questions generally, you only need to read the sentence that has the blank. This is technically not always true, but I would say like 90 to 95% of the time that's true. A nearly frictionless, I'm going to skip this. A nearly frictionless state. Okay, we need to say the word that describes this nearly frictionless state. What is this nearly frictionless state? When the COF, no, not this already. Two surfaces is not a nearly frictionless state. Reaching superlubricity, I don't think that's going to be right either. Because this is not like screaming a noun. This is not like the term. A nearly frictionless state, superlubricity, yes. D is definitely right. And again, you could rephrase this sentence as superlubricity, comma, a nearly frictionless state, comma, is reached when two surfaces drop below 0.01. So it always has to pass that test. So hopefully that makes sense and we got everything right.